Thank you guys for having me today. I'm going to be brief because we don't have much time, so I like to be cognizant of everybody's time. But I'm here today to tell you about what MS is and the VICA MS event that Aaron asked me to talk about. So I like to start out and ask if anyone knows anyone that lives with MS. Okay, good. So a lot of what I'm talking about today isn't going to be too foreign to some people. I was just telling Aaron, I feel like almost everybody knows somebody that has MS. So when I started at the MS Society a year ago, I thought MS was NBA, Jerry's kids. And so I quickly educated myself and found that MS is not that. It is actually a multiple, which means it affects more than one area of the brain or spinal cord, and sclerosis, meaning the brain and nerve tissue becomes scarred or sclerosed. So this has to do with the brain and spinal cord rather than the muscles. Hold on a second, sorry. This went crazy. Okay, so what causes MS? We do not know exactly what causes MS. We do know that there are some people that have a genetic predisposition, and there are environmental triggers, which causes autoimmunity, and what that autoimmunity is loss of myelin and nerve fibers. We actually have a staff member that lives with MS, and the way that she describes it is like a pool noodle. So we've all seen those pool noodles, and they protect from the inside. If you poke holes in those noodles, water starts seeping through and it affects that. So pretend that the nerve is on the inside, and the outside of that noodle is the myelin sheath. And so what happens with MS is holes, or so to speak, there's holes that cause that affect the nerves. I wish I would have brought my visual today. So nerves are actually impacted because of the holes in the myelin sheath. Right now we're trying to find out why that happens and try to repair that myelin sheath. And I'll talk about that in just a second here. So who gets MS? Every hour someone in the U.S. is diagnosed. More than 2.3 million people are affected by MS worldwide. Women are affected more than men 2 to 3 times. Most people are diagnosed between 20 and 50. So you hear a lot of people that are diagnosed in college. Increased family susceptibility, and it's more common in colder climates. One of the hallmark signs of MS is its unpredictability. So one person may only have one spot or lesion on their myelin or in their MRI. Some people may experience many more after that. 1/3 will have a very mild course, so maybe they just have numbness or tingling or visual problems. 1/3 will have a moderate course, however they may be able to walk, though many will need a cane or walker. And 1/3 will become disabled, so a scooter or wheelchair because of fatigue, weakness, balance problems, and the inability to move their limbs. This isn't in here, but I'll just mention there are actually 3 types of MS. One is relapsing remitting, and it's the most common. So this is where someone will have an exacerbation or a relapse, and it might be, like I said, maybe they have numbness in their hands or tingling in their leg or their vision, and that lasts a little while and then it goes away. But then it can come back. We don't know what those triggers are that make it come back. It can, like I said, it may not ever come back, but a lot of people that have relapsing remitting, it does come back. The next is progressive, and that is where people are often disabled quickly. It's a very fast moving. And then there's progressive too. Right now, we have 13 FDA-approved treatments for MS. That's what we do. We actually fund research to find these medications that have changed a lot of people's lives substantially. 1993 was the first disease-modifying medication. At the beginning, a lot of them were injectable and done through interferon. Now, we have some oral medications. Aubagio, Gilenya, and Tecfidera. And we actually just found out that the FDA is close to approving the first treatment for progressive MS called ocrelizumab. So it's the first sign for people that live with MS, progressive MS. Like I said, that's the hardest one to treat because it's so quick. So we are finally starting to see some movement in that area. So what we do research, advocacy, and services. In order to do that, we need volunteers. We have 1,200 volunteers dedicate countless hours of priceless support for us. You can volunteer or participate in events. You can represent the society as an ambassador, an advocate. We always need interns, so if any of you have kids that are looking for internships, we are always looking for that. You could work at the chapter office doing administrative and data. We actually have a lot of people that live with MS that volunteer in our office and doing administrative duties, so it's really great. Every day you're having a bad day and you might see someone and you're able to say, it's perspective, you know, like my day is not nearly as bad as theirs. So you could be a committee member or board member. So those are some ways you can get involved. We have several events. This is our walk month. So for the next 3 weeks we have Walk MS across the St. Louis area. We have Bike MS, and I'll go into that more in depth here in a minute. We have Challenge Walk MS, which is a 2-day 50K event. People walk 50K in 2 days walk. So it's an interesting event, but it's an event that's very tied to our mission. A lot of people that have a connection to MS participate in that event. We have our Corporate Achievers event, and we have a Women on the Move luncheon. But the one I'm here to talk about is the Bike MS Getaway. We actually just moved from Columbia, Missouri. Last year was our first year at Lewis and Clark. It was fantastic, and it was great for our area too. We've been trying to measure the economic impact that this event had on the Riverbend area because we brought over 2,000 cyclists into the area, and we were through all of the municipalities. I'm sure Randy may have come and visited you. I think we probably rode through East Dalton. So we made visits to everyone in the area, all the municipalities in the area, and people saw from St. Louis, were able to see our cities that they've never seen. Lewis and Clark College, which is it's a gem that a lot of people here, I feel, take for granted, me being one, until I heard the feedback from all of the people that participated. Like, we didn't know that this was so beautiful in here. So that was great. Our event raises just under $2 million. We have 2,100 cyclists last year that actually participated. It is a very corporate event. So our largest corporate team was Hogan Trucking. They raised $170,000 for us. So there are a lot of major corporations that participate in this event. It's not a race, it's a ride. So that's one thing everybody's like, well, when's the race? Well, the ride is, because people kind of get intimidated by the race part of it. So here's some pictures from last year, and Aaron, I sure wish I had a picture of you crossing the finish line. We have rest stops. We have 20 rest stops for 2 days. So it's a 2-day event. You can ride 25, 50, 75, or 100 miles, one or both days. And if you can't make it, we have SAG wagons. So they'll actually pick you up and put you in and take you back. Yeah, and don't be afraid of that. Yeah, and it's really nice when we cross the finish line. We actually have some people that live with MS there greeting you with medals. There are rest stops every 10 miles. So along the way, last year they went up State Street Hill. I felt so sorry for those people. They will not be doing that this year. We're mostly going north. So we'll be going through Jerseyville, or not Jerseyville, Brighton, Carlinville, a lot of those areas, because that hill was a beast for way too many people. We do surveys and feedback, and that hill was a killer. So we will not be having that hill anymore. It is really an experience, and I don't know who was here last year to hear Aaron talk about it, but most of these people, unlike our challenge walk that participate in this event, participate because they like to ride and they like to party. And so there's beer at the finish line. There's a team tent village. Well, you can see that in that top picture, all those white tents. There's different corporations that have tents set up for their teams just to come. Somebody roasted it overnight. There's people that cater food. It's a lot of fun. The atmosphere there is great. We have bands, and then we actually have tent camping back where the Heritage Days used to be. So people camp out. We had like over 100 people, 100 tents back there. We have RVs back there. So it is a whole weekend of fun. So even if you don't ride, we're always looking for volunteers. We have about 600 volunteers for this event. 350 of them are actually out on the route for doing the rest stops. So you might see a lot of companies that do rest stops. We're always looking for youth that like to be energetic at the finish line, and they'll cheer cyclists on as they ride in, because a lot of them have ridden 100 miles each day, which we call the century. And so when they ride the century, they're really wore out, and there's nothing better than being greeted by a bunch of kids or fans welcome you and cheering you. So we have a lot of opportunities for involvement. Like I said, whether you ride or not, we need help. Here's this little information about the routes. We have the 25, 50, 75, and 100 each day. We have SAG support. We have motorcycle support. And registration right now is $40, and there is a fundraising minimum of $300. In that is included breakfast, lunch, and dinner Saturday and Sunday.